Hi everyone and welcome back. I hope you're doing really well. I'm coming on today to talk about the general messages as well as a sign-by-sign interpretation of this current nodal axis we have come into with the North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio, which will be lasting approximately from January 18th, 2022 until July 24th, 2023. So just about a year and a half long transit, as the nodes typically stay in the same sign for about a year and a half. And yes, I'm really excited. I know that you guys have been keeping an eye out for this video. I will soon also be venturing to make a Pluto return video for the US. I know that has been a highly requested video, perhaps the most highly requested video I've ever had on my channel. So be sure to hit the subscribe button below and turn on the bell notifications to be notified and know when that video goes out, okay? It's going to be a super important one. And yes, in this video, I will be talking probably in about 3 chapters, which should be laid out with timestamps below. I'm going to talk about general messages for this nodal paradigm. I'm going to talk about these nodes in the context of the rest of the sky. And then I'm also going to do a sign-by-sign impact and talk about all 12 signs, and those timestamps will be linked below. Before we get into it, I hope you will all check out my Patreon page. I just got back from filming the 100th T-Chat. T-Chats are a Patreon exclusive content that I create, and I talk about the week ahead every Saturday. I post them every Saturday pretty much, and I also do viewer requests. In the 100th T-Chat, for instance, I talked about the most karmic astrological placements. I talked about astrocartography, and I talked about a lot of things that viewers and subscribers on Patreon requested. So if you want to check out the Patreon subscription, you can certainly request topics in the comments of T-Chats, and I try to come on here and there and do some of the viewer requests as well. So it's definitely a great time of the year and time of the month as well to check out a Patreon subscription. I will link it below, as well as pin a comment below linking to the Patreon page. It is the way that this YouTube channel is able to function. So huge shout out to those of you who subscribe on Patreon. Thank you so much. You are literally enabling this content to exist. And if you would like this content to continue, definitely check it out and consider a very reasonably priced Patreon subscription linked below. Okay, so let's get straight into this video. Okay, I'm so excited. I've been really looking forward to doing this content. I'm just kind of creating some psychic space for myself to download some of these messages. And as I'm preparing to do it, as a lot of you know, before I do a reading or before I talk about any one astrological issue, I tend to meditate throughout the day, and I tend to let some of my experiences that I have during the day help me to understand what the energy needs to be articulated on. So today I actually woke up strangely early, and that's weird for me because I tend to be quite a nocturnal person, and I tend to, if uninterrupted, sleep quite late. And actually today I woke up at about 7 a.m., which is very strange for me. So I already can identify with this particular nodal paradigm a pretty big circadian rhythm shift for a lot of people. I'm identifying, we talk a lot about paradigms on this channel. We talk a lot about, how certain experiences, locations, roles shift, and how we go through life with quite a few transformations and seeing people in different spaces and different roles and different contexts, kind of illustrating the way that paradigms shift in this world. Sort of a seasonal context to the way that time moves. And that is definitely something that you will notice with North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio, is a pretty sentient shift in paradigm. So maybe already, I'm filming this on February 7th, 2022, so it's been about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks of having this in effect. So it's really just now starting to be felt strongly and to come in strongly. You might already kind of see that, wow, I'm living in a pretty different context. I'm already seeing that there are material shifts in my life. There's perhaps a different location. There's perhaps a different outlook, especially with the way that you intuit your purpose with the South Node in Scorpio. There's going to be just a sizable, perhaps, change in feeling about what you do or what your purpose has been. And here at the beginning of this transit, that can be a little bit harsh because it could be conflicting. It could be like, wow, I've spent so much time and energy on this one practice or on this one career or on this one energy line. And now I'm starting to not necessarily feel like it represents me or represents my soul's purpose, but here we are with a lot of infrastructure and a lot of purpose already invested. So there's a bit of an investment crisis, I feel, as the Taurus Scorpio axis, second, eighth house axis, right? This is the axis of money, investment, the money you earn on the Taurus side, and then other people's money on the Scorpio eighth house side. So that entire axis is lit up. And as a lot of you know, it has a lot of economic implications. You can check out my video called Global Dynamics for the last chapter of 2021 to get more insight on that, because as I see in hindsight, I was actually downloading a lot of information about this nodal paradigm shift in that video, and that will be resonant throughout the entire year of 2022. So that's quite a timeless content, at least for the entirety of North Node and Taurus, South Node and Scorpio. I'll link it below and in the top right-hand corner. I don't want this video to be too much about economic or geopolitical stuff, because I feel in a way that can skew it. And also the Pluto return video will have a lot of that. But it's good to know that it is a very economical paradigm. Okay, so if things aren't making sense on paper, if the business doesn't make sense in black and white, if the margins for what you're doing, whether that be business or energy or time, don't make sense, a lot of your movements during this time, 2022, 2023, will feel hapless and you'll look back on it as if it was scattered, or there was a lot of buzzing around, or as if there was a lot of fiat experiences. The term fiat is a really good word for describing some of the issues that come up during this transit, because Taurus as an archetype has rulership over the fiat, and then Scorpio also does fiat experiences, anything which, for example, with currency, we say this piece of paper has value. The paper in and of itself doesn't have any value, but what it represents or what it does or the purpose that it serves in society in a way is priceless. So that type of illusion or that type of archetype is what this axis is all about. So I feel that with one of the pitfalls or one of the difficulties of this time is we can see that a lot of our energy went to something fiat. Perhaps 90 to 95% of our energy went to something fiat. Doing things for a certificate, a certificate is also a fiat, like being certified to do something, a degree, a business, all of the paperwork components of that. Those pieces of paper in and of themselves don't have value, but they signify or symbolize some type of significance, right? So we are probably having a big shift in how we signify things. So there could be big changes in paperwork, big changes also in any type of certification processes, in any type of regulatory bodies as well. There could be major clampdowns. There could be major new, you got to have 20 different certificates or 20 different pieces of paper just to even be on the marketplace or something, or just to even, step into any type of industry. You might have to have, an entire HR department behind you or underneath you, or an entire bureaucratic system to sort of even be able to touch it. I do feel for example, the person who is very sixth house, okay, someone who has a lot of Virgo, who or the lawyers of the world, those who specialize in any type of paperwork organization or anything like that will do quite well during this, because I feel almost that it's almost like a Game of Thrones of paperwork in a way with this particular nodal axis, and that can be pretty difficult for a lot of people to open up to. And also I feel that it means that a lot of time in a way can be wasted, or a lot of time goes into these fiat or regulatory measures that in a way bypass the actual needed thrust or the actual needed energy. Okay, so when we put all of our energy into the paperwork, how much do we have left for the actual thing that we want to do with that, you know. We have to think about our Y factor and industries and the way that they are enabled through fiat systems, because those things with North Node and Taurus. So those of you who are watching this video have probably seen a lot of other content, and I would imagine if you're coming to this, you have a general idea of North Node and South Node. To me, as an astrologer, you know, veer off a little bit here, I do certainly acknowledge the traditional implications. You know, North Node, it's like the way in which ego, or the way in which destiny and ego dance together, and there can be a very you know, roaring, like red-blooded human experience behind what I want as a person. You know, to me, that's North Node energy. South Node energy, on the other hand, to me is like the ground that I walk on, the ground that one is held up by, the ancestral karma and momentum, the 1,000-year context, like what your bloodline has done for the last 1,000 years, and what ground you walk on because of that. To me, that is the South Node. Also past life stuff, and even like deep past, if you're an older person, so if you've had especially like 2 Saturn returns, so you're 60 plus years old, this can also be like what you've done during the last 2 passages of Saturn for South Node. But typically, if you're under 60 years old, but especially under 30 years old, the South Node to me only really denotes ancestry or past life foundations, because there's not so much building that you with your own individual impetus have done if you haven't had a Saturn return yet. By the time you're 30 plus years old, you'll have a little bit there, but really it's the older generation, I also feel, with this particular nodal axis that has the biggest transformation, or has the biggest part to play. In a way, South Node in Scorpio can also denote a slight change in generational power, or a slight shift in generational dynamics, okay? So yes, let's do it this way. Let's talk a little bit about South Node in Scorpio, and then we'll also talk about North Node in Taurus individually. So yes, let's do this a little bit. Let's talk about each part of this. So South Node in Scorpio, then North Node in Taurus, individually. Then we'll talk about the alchemy of the two together and the axis more, and then go through sign by sign. So South Node in Scorpio. Okay, so if you have this placement individually, or this nodal axis in your own birth chart, I'm sure that you have had a lot of really crazy transformative experiences. The South Node in Scorpio indicates a sort of generational karma of transformation. So this likely means that your generational line, for example, has gone through a lot of huge transformations, as everyone's has to some degree. I mean, humans are not a stagnant species, okay? They go through a lot of really crazy differences. I mean, the Earth plane goes through a lot of transformations. It has the distinct seasons. So it's not very special to say that South Node in Scorpio denotes transformation, but perhaps even more than other nodal placements. So thinking of the ancestry, thinking of the family line, it's possible that there were like, I don't know, for example, having a family long ancestry that perhaps once had like nobility, or perhaps once had like royalty, and then perhaps were totally like dethroned or completely switched into a completely subservient category. Like, for example, if we think of the societal pyramids that have been in effect for a few thousand years, where you have like these caste systems, or you have these very blatant hierarchies, you can see with a South Node in Scorpio person that there's a family lineage that was perhaps on both extreme sides. Okay, so what this can do to a person is it can confuse them, or create a very strong ego battle, like which do I adjust to, which do I strive for, do I try to be at the top, do I try to be at the bottom, do I try to be rich, do I just try to be poor? Like there can be, whichever side you're on with South Node in Scorpio, there can be a longing for the other side. Like, and you might not think so. You might not think like, why would a wealthy person ever want to be poor? You'd be surprised. That can actually happen with South Node in Scorpio, where it's like, I just don't really feel safe in what is already here for me. I feel as if it is not stable, and I want to change it. There's usually this deep inner desire with a South Node in Scorpio to like change everything about like the structure of your life. So there's a want to switch industry, or there's a want to pursue a new career that you've never had. There's a want to be in a completely different financial status than you currently are. There's a want also perhaps to connect with people who are in very different places. Okay, so something about South Node in Scorpio, I'm sure those of you with that natal placement watching this can talk about this, about how you maybe have really crazy people magnetized to you. Not just crazy, but like it's very different. Like the people that you pull into your life are not from the same background. You're not typically put into a group of people who have the same upbringing or who have the same type of background. So that also contributes to the pulling away of the South Node in Scorpio from what they've known or what they consider to be contextual for them. And it foreshadows the eventual pursuit of something, again, completely different. So something actually that can be really wonderful for South Node in Scorpio, whether you have this natally or whether just during the time that this transit is in effect for everyone, is to actually allow yourself to pursue what works and to inject a transformative energy into what is broken about your current reality, instead of trying to just completely 100 million% transform it. It's good actually to find a middle ground. This particular nodal axis is very extreme, and it has a very take it all or leave it mentality. It has a sink or swim component. It has a complete 100% giving or taking. And it really needs to find the balance, because after this, it will move to South Node in Libra, right? Where we have to have a balance. We have to have a keen, healthy, regimented, implemented system. And if we, during South Node in Scorpio, go about changing things 100 million%, it's not that it can't work, and it does happen. It does happen, but I don't feel that it's particularly wise unless you're in a dangerous place. So that's another aspect of South Node in Scorpio, is being in a dangerous place or being in a risky, volatile environment that you have to get yourself out of. I see that a lot with individuals when I was doing a lot of one-on-one sessions. Interestingly enough, South Node in Scorpio, North Node Taurus people tend to love astrology. So I worked with a lot of those people who had that placement. And oftentimes they do have times in their lives, South Node in Scorpio, where they might be in with the wrong crowd, or they might be involved in something that's not totally, it's not that it's not above board, but it's just not maybe safe for them as a person, and they have to get themselves out of it. And that does tend to show one of these huge absolute transformations. So in that case, there might be a calling for some people 2022 to 2023 to get the heck out of there, to totally burn that bridge, or to totally, I mean, you can even see changes in identity. You can see rebranding the businesses. You can see even things like witness protection or stuff like that on the really freaky side of it, but one way or another, in a dangerous situation, I do feel that like now's the chance for a lot of people. So in like a abusive marriage, in any type of situation that is a threat or a danger, this is an opportune time, 2022 to 2023, to just step out. Like it would be easy as well. It wouldn't be something that you have to like really endanger yourself in order to get out of. Okay, you could just step out. Like karmically, it's very easy during South Node in Scorpio to step out. It's like your ancestry would support it, your generational background would support it, and it would be like, here's just this other thing. Like here's this wholesome other thing with North Node in Taurus as well. Just step into it and you're out. So for those of you who have needed to get out of something, a relationship, a job, a career, this period of time during this paradigm, that rhymes, is really the best time, because yes, when we go back into South Node in Libra as well after this, you can really rebalance things quite aptly. However, following the previous thread I was talking about, if you have perhaps illusions of grandeur around a transformation or around completely shifting your life when what you currently have is not that bad, That's also possible. That's where it can be really hard when we get to South Node in Libra, where you might get to that and have to rebalance and be like, whoa, I totally left something that was way better, and now all my energy has gone to like transforming and shifting out of it. And that was really not the best decision. So this is where we have to know the status of what we're in, right? This is where we have to be very clear and very decalcified in the pineal gland, I suppose, to be able to aptly hone and understand and intuit how we really feel about what we're involved in during this time. Because that's the only way that South Node in Scorpio won't devastate someone's life, is by being honest with yourself, and by knowing, being able to call a spade, being able to understand if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, so and so, you know, like being like those types of sayings are good right now. Like making sure that you're not, for example, being involved in like a pyramid scheme, making sure that you're not like probably engaging in any type of like weird businesses or anything like that, would any types of scams, you know, or impersonation, even, as I'm seeing on, you know, getting to where I'm getting on YouTube. I've had like this ring of impersonators, you know, trying to like steal my identity, and trying to like, you know, they make fake accounts, and they like in the comment section of videos, they try to, you know, get my viewers to send them money through WhatsApp or something. And it's really crazy. And I feel like, imagine doing that. Like, just imagine, I don't know, it's really crazy to me. But anyway, I feel like this, we have to really wake up, you know, if we're not in a wholesome, you know, integrity-based way of funding our lives, for example, during North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio, but especially the South Node in Scorpio part, there can be really crazy karmic unfoldings, okay? If there's a dishonesty, or if there's a, you know, for example, like stealing of identity or something, like that can become really, really crazy down the line. And, you know, I just hope that like anybody who is involved in any type of like scamming or impersonating or stealing of identity can allow themselves to get out of that, you know, now. And even things that are like not like criminal like that, you know, I do think that we have to get ourselves out, okay, of things that just don't feel right even, you know. South Node in Scorpio, it's like kind of the last chance, because then South Node in Libra, that can be like justice, right? That can be like a legal ramification or shift there. So it's good to really understand the integrity of what we're involved in, and how great it feels, okay, during South Node in Scorpio to be above board and to be pursuing what you actually feel that you're here on this earth to do. I mean, that's like where you see the powerful, like eagle version of South Node in Scorpio, is when you step out of all of that time wasting, or when you step out of all that stuff that is just like a financial gain, or where you step out of all that stuff that just is a fiat experience for you, and you actually step into purpose, okay? That's where the rewards of this particular nodal paradigm are, okay? They are not quite as much in the financial sector or in the pursuit of some type of gain, okay? But certainly for people who have like purpose there, like, you know, I suppose entrepreneurial people, or people who like are actually giving something to society, or have something to like really help, and there is a financial component to it, like sure, you can see big financial gains. But, you know, again, check the global dynamics video, because we have the inflation, okay, which is going to get a lot worse likely, okay? I'll talk a little bit more about that in the North Node section. Is there anything else I need to talk about for the South Node and Scorpio part? Trauma healing, okay. Also anything that is indicative of like sexual trauma, or anything along the lines of blockages or overactivations of the root, sacral, or solar plexus chakra, the lower chakras, okay. Those things have to be worked on. Or, I mean, if you need Reiki, if you need like astrologers, if you need traditional or conventional psychological help or psychiatry or whatever it is, we cannot see, okay, this is probably the most important download actually, we cannot see beyond July of 2023 a lack of healing, or at least a lack of attempted healing. Okay, healing is not something that we can just say, okay, I'm pursuing healing and it's healed. Like, healing is a lifelong journey. Healing is something, and this is actually something that I'm working on in a new book as well, that I hope to be able to provide for you guys that might be helpful. How great that would be to finish during South Node in Scorpio. I will hope so. But healing is not a measurable or, goal oriented thing. I mean, it's great to have that goal, like, I want to heal this, I want to get past this, but it's not something we can say, okay, by July 23rd, 2023, I'm going to be healed of that trauma. Okay. It kind of works on its own time, but there are things that we can do. And I feel that the South Node in Scorpio is the best time to elicit even like generational wounds when it comes to trauma, when it comes to abuse, perhaps over the family lines throughout generations. These things come up during this paradigm as well. And they can really come to the surface, or they can really also be motivating a lot more than we know. So the South Node is also about deep motivations, like motivations that we don't understand where they're coming from, also knowledge that we have from past lives or ancestral knowledge, like things like, I didn't even learn this in school, but like I already know it. That's very South Node in Scorpio. Also, I didn't even go through this trauma, but I feel it, or I didn't even, hurt my back, but it doesn't feel right, like that type of thing. So we need to really see a forgiving, okay? Easier said than done. I've talked a lot about forgiveness on this channel, but if we can't have some progress in forgiveness or some progress in healing our own personal trauma, that can be also really hard by the time of South Node in Libra. So it's just a very opportune time to talk with yourself, to hear the callings of your soul, to hear the impulses that trauma catalyze, and start to really pull those up, or let those out, okay, in a healing way, okay, not in a destructive way here, because that's really what it's about with South Node in Scorpio. It feels that the trauma from deep within comes to the surface, and it channels in some way or another. This is the most important part of this channeling. It either channels in a healing way or a destructive way. It's going to channel during South Node in Scorpio. And I feel that we have to, especially if you're someone who has, a Scorpio placement in your chart and the South Node transits over it, we have to pay attention to how this energy is channeling itself, because it is going to catalyze some type of shift, okay? And these can be things that really destroy the obstacles to your true purpose, or they can create new ones. So that's what we have to choose during that transit. Okay, a bit about North Node in Taurus by itself, okay? Just writing down the timestamp. Okay, so North Node in Taurus is not really about any of that. Again, this is like the polar opposite, and the axis, the opposition between the North Node and South Node create an alchemy, right? So the North Node in Taurus is about, wanting to make, 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures. The North Node in Taurus is about, wow, inflation, let me buy as much as I can. Let me make more money so that I can afford the inflation. Let me, try to benefit from the inflation. Let me have investments or debt that lose value with the inflation. And it's very formulaic, and it's like, how can I get ahead? How can my business do better? How can I produce more? How can I also fund that energetically? So you can see with North Node in Taurus also the gaining of weight, because you might need more food, or there might not be much attention paid to the little things in life. Like, we might be thinking so hard about how I get my company up to a bazillion dollars, or how I, get my status up a bazillion ranks. And meanwhile, we're not even thinking about the food going into our body. We're not thinking about the wear and tear. We're not thinking about the really important stuff, or that trauma stuff that we were talking about with South Node in Scorpio. That's not even on the mind anymore. We want gain, okay, with North Node in Taurus. And it can kind of be gain at all costs, and it can be destructive. Again, we talked about the North Node being about the sort of insatiable aspect of human ego, the things that we really want. It's not all bad, because humans have to make progress in some way. And the North Node, you'd be surprised, like, what is contributed by somebody with a really strong North Node activation tends to be the things that pull society forward. Even if that person is super egotistical and crazy in a way, that is typically the energy that catalyzes human movement. And then it can be like reharnessed or refocused by other people, or a group or a team can then turn it into something actually positive. So it's not that it's a bad force, but I feel for the individual, for those of you who are perhaps having a transit of North Node in Taurus, that, like, for example, a North Node conjunct Sun, a North Node conjunct Jupiter, opposite Jupiter, especially those, like, or Mars, those are particularly egotistical. Those are particularly like, I've got to voice, I've got to get to this next milestone, I've got to have this graduation, I've got to make that company, I've got to do like this crazy thing. Because again, Taurus, second house, it's about money, right? It's about prosperity, it's about food, it's about status. And the North Node is about want, desire, and ego. So combining all of those things together, it's very much about, you know, how do I get places in life? How do I move and swing? You know, how do I, you know, be on camera? How do I, you know, have also the perfect symmetry of face? Cosmetic surgery could also be at a high with North Node in Taurus. Also, like skin treatments, Botox and fillers, things like that, could be very focused on by a lot of people. We could see a surge there. Also a surge in social media influencers, or the way that media is portraying it. Again, it's become more modest than it was, for example, in 2019 and preceding, because we had that triple Capricorn conjunction, and that's reactivated in this year as well. So it's kind of like juxtaposed in a way. But I feel that there will be a reemergence, or perhaps even like movements around like cosmetics or cosmetic surgery or something. And I think that we have to see through that, or we have to prevent ourselves, or try to be a little bit more healthy with stuff like that, and try to really exercise discretion and moderation. So those are two great keywords for North Node in Taurus: discretion and moderation. Private experiences, okay? Social media to me feels very problematic with North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio. I'm seeing a lot of people wanting to like share their traumas on social media, but not even being able to like talk to their families about it. I'm seeing a lot of people like wanting to become like a public figure, but still not even being able to like cook themselves meals, or not even being able to like, take care of themselves. But at the same time, they want like the big following, or they want the big like, prestige or recognition of some kind, though they are lacking. They're not even like energetically together enough to feed themselves even. So we have like, that's very North Node in Taurus to me. If you can focus on a healthy diet and healthy circadian rhythm, this is very basic. We've talked about it for a long time on this channel. But that will be the way that you get through. And also, however you can moderate your spending, however you can moderate anything frivolous or anything overwhelming will be good. But at the same time, I wonder how we can also satiate the inner need that we have perhaps to bloom, to have that colorful human experience. Because I also feel that this particular paradigm, North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio, it's very colorful, it's very spicy, it's very like tasty and tasteful. So it's also not going to settle for like a convent experience, okay? It's not going to settle for, gray sweatpants and like never leaving the house and eating like rice and beans the whole time. Okay, that's also not going to work. So here we're already seeing, the movement towards the Libra energy, where it's like, okay, you've got to be able to have some color in your life and have some zest in your life, but it's not necessarily about a hyper status oriented progress either. Okay, it's really about a wholesome increase in health while spending less, while gaining because of that. Does that make sense? I feel that that's the best middle ground for this transit. And also, just speaking a second about how it's all mixing together, okay, with the other things in the sky. Having Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces, Jupiter moving into Aries later in the year and then back into Pisces, that makes this particularly powerful and also particularly prone to confusion, okay? So branding confusion, identity confusion, impersonation, you know, all of those things come up this year, and it's like, how can I establish myself, or how can I establish the purpose or the progress orientation in a way that is so real, North Node in Taurus, so purposeful, South Node in Scorpio, and intuitive, flexible, and in a way that it stands the test of time, or it stands the erosion that Jupiter and Neptune and Pisces are doing. We have a lot of Capricorn and Aquarius energy, of course, still. So again, it's like hybrid experiences for people, 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the new world, 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the old world. How do we then cope with that, you know? Uranus and Taurus also, so we have a North Node Uranus, and then of course South Node opposite Uranus situation coming in, which is going to be currency focused, okay? That's going to make digital currency come through. That's going to see a totally different way of working with these old things, you know, like stock market, crypto, all of those things. Beware, okay? Huge gains, yes, I suppose, but also there's nothing about it that's like wholesome. It's all like buzzing in the mind. It's all electric. It's all super powerful in that way, because electricity is power. But, you know, so I suppose if I were to think of like industries that would do well, anything that has to do with electric power, anything that has to do with any raw power sources, okay, which does bring to mind things like oil, gas, nuclear energy, electric energy, green energy as well. All of those things I would assume would be volatile, but also likely to, like, the people I feel in those industries will be very like focused on, you know, upping their stock prices or whatever. This channel certainly cannot advise on anything financial or anything related to that, but it is fun to entertain what might happen in the real world and see how it comes about, and really see how astrology and astrologers are doing with their forecasting. Industries that I think might not do as well. Anything super real, okay? Food industry likely will not do that well. Okay, my phone's just ringing, so we'll take that as a synchronicity. I see some likely major issues with food manufacturing, food production, food manufacturing. That's kind of how it is, isn't it? But quality of food is going to be a major issue. And if I were super entrepreneurial and I had like any understanding of how like food production worked, it would be very interesting to think of new decentralized food production organizations, because I feel that centralized food production is a huge threat with this particular astrology. And I also think that imports of food could be, what's the word? Imports of food could be devoid of nutrition or lacking in some type of wholesome quality. Basically, it's like not really giving much substance or sustenance to the body. I feel that food is the center point, honestly, of everything in this paradigm. The food that you eat, what goes into your body. Also, to a lesser degree, like what you're putting onto your body, like skincare or fragrances or material of clothing. That's what the sign of Taurus is all about. It has to do with agriculture. It has to do with materials as well, because that also deals with agriculture, right? Like silk, cotton, they all come out of the ground. So materials and fabrics have a lot to do with this. So like sustainability comes up, right? The green energy movement, or anything green, whether it's energy or whether it's food or clothing, that industry is going to really spike up. But I also am a little bit concerned about it, because I fear that because of how much demand could come into that industry, it's like it could also see an ethical challenge, because like, how is it going to provide for the demand? How is it going to bypass what less green or less ethical manufacturers have produced when it has the same demand potentially as those manufacturers? So there's a lot of, I think, innovation that has to happen, which is also indicated. It's not certainly saying that it's not possible, but I feel that there's a threat, or there's a little bit of a challenge there. And, to what degree is branding, like the word green, like to what degree is that also, being the representation or the commitment, And yes, I do think that there will be a big expansion also to like cryptocurrency, but I also think that it has a huge security threat, or there's something about crypto that for me personally, I don't like to really give opinions on this type of thing, but I wouldn't expect it to be something that, like, for example, pays your bills, or to be something that is a certain type of secure investment. I think it's a security risk. Whenever I think of crypto, I feel security risk. There are people who are going to make a lot of money from it. There are people who've already made so much money from it, but it's like, also I doubt in a way the legality of it, but also that goes for a lot of industries right now. And I also think that there will be nationalized digital currencies that become competitors, or start to threaten the viability of independent or private crypto, or that could even become outlawed in a short time as digital currencies that are national become implemented. So that I just feel North Node in Taurus, Uranus, certainly huge changes to what money as a construct in society represents. Huge changes to that. But also huge volatility on anything that has to do with money, anything that has to do with currency, anything that has to do with markets or economy is not something that you would want to be basing your livelihood upon, okay? Because it could totally disappear. And another thing about South Node in Scorpio is there's a feeling to me of being left in the dust, okay? Something is always left in the dust, whether we're on the carriage or in the vehicle that is like zooming away and leaving stuff in the dust, or whether we are having a swath of dust go over us because something zoomed by us at 1 billion miles an hour. That's to me the visual archetype for this particular nodal axis, given that Uranus is in Taurus, and we also have this big Aquarius energy push. So take of that what you will, and let's dive into the sign by sign. We're going to move pretty quickly through these. Okay, starting with Aries, nodal axis, North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio. What does it mean for you? Things should start to get easier, okay? I feel like the previous nodal axis, the previous 2 or 3 actually were kind of like wind in your sails. It was kind of like updrafts. It was a warm, kind of upward pushing energy momentum for you. And what that meant was that you probably had a bit of an ego expansion, or a need to find yourself climbing a ladder, or climbing to the top of something, trying to prove yourself, a weird kind of existential hierarchical issues. Okay, so trying to prove yourself in those hierarchies, or trying to prove yourself within a hierarchy that you've created. And now with this nodal axis, I feel that you kind of are where you are, and you can change that if you want to. You can, honestly, you can shift over. You can pretty much do whatever you want. There's not that much oversight, I feel, for your energy, which in a way can be good, but also I feel that it leads you to try to over monitor yourself, or over perhaps obsess on certain path decisions you're making. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I feel happy with where I'm at? Do I hate it? Like, there's kind of a love-hate relationship, I feel, with this particular nodal axis, as it is a semi-sextile and quincunx angle to you. So it's kind of hard to gauge during this time what the best step forward is, but it feels like you should already know from the last year. So basically 2021, what you've been wanting, what you've been yearning, what you were growing egoically through during that time should have some answers for you about how to move forward now, but it doesn't really feel like you need to force yourself to stay or force yourself to go either way. It should kind of come to you, and there's going to be a peripheral nature to what comes into your path or onto your path during this 1.5 year period of time. So what does that mean, a peripheral nature to the energy? That means, just like if you're looking at something, like what's in the peripherals of your vision, sometimes we're not thinking as much about. We're tending to look straight at something or look at something straight on. That may not be what you need to focus on right now. What is in the side line? What is in the sides of your vision? What are you losing track of that you might not even be paying attention to? One of the general themes I've felt for this nodal axis for all the signs is that what you might think is the problem might really not be, okay? You might think as a hypothetical, like, oh my gosh, my career is not right for me. And maybe it's not about the career itself. Maybe it's about the identity component of it. Maybe it's about like your identity within that career. Maybe it's not expressing. Maybe it's not showing in the way that you want it to. And it's not that the career or the job is wrong. It's more about like the identity component. But you might think that it's just the career, and you could see yourself like jumping into another career or doing some type of like major ego-centered shift and still find yourself in a place where you're like, gosh, is it right? Did I make the right decision? You're still like not really expressing the identity. So I would really focus on identity as an Aries person with this transit, because you almost have to be able to find home within yourself in any role, in any situation, and it has to all kind of contribute. Okay, so regardless of what career you're in, regardless of what location or set of goals you're stepping with, it's almost like it shouldn't matter. It does matter, but there has to be this part of your identity that, like, where the ego basically recedes a little bit, and it's kind of like, it doesn't matter what role I'm in, it doesn't matter what career I'm in, it doesn't matter where I'm standing, like on the earth. This contributes, and this in some way matches up to what I've been feeling I know I need for myself, like what you saw over the year of 2021 with the previous nodal axis and a bit of 2020 as well. If it doesn't contribute to that larger goal, or if it doesn't contribute to that bigger expansion, it's probably not the right territory. But make sure that it's not a territory problem, it's that you're over-focusing on. Make sure that at the root of that is not the identity problem, because then you have a pretty easy way that you can solve problems. But you shouldn't really be looking, January 2022 to July 2023. You shouldn't, during that segment of time, be too reliant or too, direct in your conscious shifting, okay? Because there would be something about it, like the peripherals or the sidelines would kind of perhaps take you off guard with that. So you want to kind of be set in a way. That's part of North Node in Taurus anyway, is having a set foundation that you can rely upon. And you want to basically give time to just take in your vision, your surroundings, your environment, and understand each part of it so you can really comprehend the peripheral parts. If you're moving really quick in a lot of places that you have no context with, that can be hard for this segment of time, because what you directly look at or what directly catches your attention might not really be the most important thing. So it's almost like you need to be in a still and secure environment that doesn't have too many like flashing lights or moving parts, so that you can really comprehend it all and understand all the parts of it and all the peripheries of it. Okay, that seems to be the most important thing for you. It's very symbolic, and it's not really going to give you that much dramatic shifting, okay, which should be good because you've had a lot of that over the last, I would say, 5 to 7 years. So it should be a nice respite. Okay, let's move on. Taurus. Taurus for this particular nodal axis. Obviously, Taurus and Scorpio being the most activated by this nodal axis, to a lesser degree Leo and Aquarius, also on the fixed sign axes. So North Node in your sign, what does that mean? That means that this is where you can discover your calling. This is where you can find your purpose. This is where you can directly look at what you need in your life and move towards that without being delayed, without being prevented, without being locked out or barred from entering into your purpose. So there's kind of like an open gate here for you. There's a very purposeful path, just like manifested already. You're probably on it as we speak. And you want to be watching out for anything that makes you feel as if there's a superiority, or as if there is a sort of like boost in class or boost in status. The problem with North Node in Taurus is like things like status, things like identity, connecting to status, connecting to what you're given, what you're not having to work for, what you're not having to try that hard to do. That can start to be an entitlement thing with North Node in Taurus. And we want to make sure that we are continuing to resonate with the work that we're doing, but at the same time, we have to ask ourselves big questions with North Node in Taurus about like, what am I being given? What's just kind of appearing? Is it for free? Like be especially careful or cautious with people wanting to give you things, okay? You could see during this time like people sort of subconsciously perhaps catching on to this huge activation that you have, seeing that all these doors are opening up for you. They might start giving you stuff, okay? So for example, you've started on Instagram or you started on YouTube and you're getting like a bunch of followers. And now brands are like sending you things in the mail for free. And there's like a caveat though, and you're like using the things and then they're like, well, now you're going to start making videos for us now. And you can very easily see that like your brand or your company or your business can be like hijacked in a totally like legal way. Okay. You can see that by being given things that suddenly like control over this power that you've found or path that you've discovered becomes kind of, what do I want to say? Like subcontracted out to another person, but you still are the figure, or you still are the company or the brand. So you want to really try to make things as self-fulfilled as possible. Okay. There can be problems with employment during this particular transit, especially, I mean, whether you're an employer or an employee, you can see a weird contractual relationship there. So it's good to play stuff like that safe, although I also understand that with North Node in Taurus, you would likely see like, wow, I need more employees, or wow, I'm being given a promotion by my employer, whatever it is. I would just try to look at it in this way in every sense. So for example, employees coming to you actually wanting to work for less money, okay? People wanting to work for you without clocking time. People wanting to do favors for you that are strange, and it almost becomes a albatross, okay? It becomes like something that gives them power over you in the future. But you might, with this North Node transit, be like, wow, look at my manifestation power. I'm like manifesting all of this like cheap labor or something. But like 5 or 10 years down the line, this could be like a lawsuit waiting to happen, you know? So it's not to make you worry about things, but what you do need to think about is, does it make sense? Does this happen in real life? Do people usually want to work for like less money? Okay. These are very common sense types of things. And basically common sense will get you through. The problem with a North Node being in your sign, regardless of what sign it is that it can let the ego really overpower the common sense, or overpower the true inner knowing. So yeah, I think you're going to have a lot of people wanting to give you stuff. And that can also be like hard if you've been coming from a trauma past or a poverty mindset, where we might think like, wow, the universe is just giving back to me. I'm getting like all this free stuff. I'm getting like all of this abundance. And I think that will come to you anyway, especially with Jupiter and Neptune and Pisces as well with the sextile. Okay. The thing is the South Node component of it, with the South Node in Scorpio opposing what you have in Taurus. This is the harsh thing about the nodes, is they always bring that harsh opposition energy. So it's like anything with the nodes cannot be like good or bad, because there's that opposition always, that 180 degree angle. So South Node in Scorpio opposite a placement in Taurus carries some type of hidden connotation. It says like, okay, here's something valuable, the Taurus side, right? Like money, assistance, gifts, property, stuff like that. And then, but the South Node in Scorpio side of it is like, but what does it mean to have this? And who else wants it? And who else has an interest in you having it? And what types of complex interests are evolving based on you becoming the one who has it, like on paper, like that. The South Node in Scorpio can be very conniving, actually, and it can also create proxy experiences. So people coming up to deter or deflect attention. So like a Taurus person suddenly becoming like coming into like a business, like they inherit a business or something. And then like there's another investor or something on the other side, like who wanted that to happen. And then basically they start executing some sort of like really crazy plan or something to like let you be like the fall guy. So that's not to make you freak out, Taurus, but I just want you to know up front that you got to be smart during this time. Okay. You got to be really industrious, and you have to also really be aware of the dynamics in anything relating to power, conglomerations of wealth or interest or abundance or anything money related, right? Again, this is the second 8th house axis, which is the money axis in astrology. This is the career axis. On the Taurus side, it's the money you work for. It's the wage you earn. And then on the Scorpio side, it's other people's money. It's the interests of other people in what you're doing. So that's the main moral coming out of this 1.5 year cycle, January 2022 to July 2023, is trying to teach us lessons about how we earn and then also how we juggle or balance the interest of other people within that process. So with you being on the Taurus side of it, and it's the exact opposite for Scorpio, but let me tell you, with you being on the Taurus side of it, you're going to have perhaps a rude awakening about the other side, about the other people's money aspect, the 8th house aspect, the South Node and Scorpio aspect, the part where like other people's wants for you to be in a certain place or other people's hopes to also perhaps profit off of what you've set up for yourself. There could be a rude awakening there. You might just be focusing now on like, wow, I'm like self-employed now. I'm earning my own money. And you're only maybe thinking about like just the operations of that and just the your involvement in that and like balancing your own checkbook, That's the North Node and Taurus side. But you might be having a huge leg up by divesting from that and thinking more about what is the other people component of this? Who are the other parties who make like my business function? Who has an interest in me not making changes in my life, like whether this be family, business, friends, romance, whatever. To me, for Taurus, Scorpio, all the fixed signs in a way, there's a major energy snag in being a little bit blind to like other people not wanting you to change or not really wanting you to do better. So it's very good for them to see you so focused on like just, doing your own accounting or, just clocking in those hours day after day. And you're like being such a great worker, such a great industrious person, but not really thinking beyond that. And that's where we can get really shocked during the next nodal cycle. So 2023 late in through like early 2025, we can get really shocked about where a large amount of time went, like 10 years. We can also see that there's a feeling of being a little bit stuck in it or having to go to bat for it in a more legitimate way, which requires more energy. So basically what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're okay with where you are and that you're not allowing the interests of other people to trap you, okay? And also that you're not involving yourself in things, and this might not be possible, but you want to try to not involve yourself in things that you don't really know the dynamics of. So like, what comes to mind? Purchasing a business. I mean, it's so funny, all these like entrepreneurial psychic images I get lately with this particular nodal axis. So for example, purchasing a business in an industry that you've never been in before, like not creating the business, but like taking over. So like stepping blind into a already functioning system that has interests in a bunch of places, and you have to like go around meeting people, or you have to like, I don't know, get to know the vendors or whatever. You catch my drift. Like you might become like a collateral damage in another person's like a scheme, okay? If you're jumping blindly into things that you don't have context with. At the same time, the North Node will make you want to do that. It'll make you want to prove something to yourself. It'll make you be like, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to like submit those papers. I'm going to like fly off to that place. I'm going to just like propose to that person. I'm going to just like file those divorce papers. You know, it can kind of be an impulsive, like, I'm going to destroy everything and create everything again. So in a way, there's an inevitability tied to this, but it seems to me, and what I'm feeling from my guides, that it really wants the Taurus and Scorpio side of this to know, but particularly the Taurus side, is you have to really pay more attention to things which you don't feel matter now, okay? Because they are the things that will build you up to where it is that you want to be. The sort of crude and deliberate, I'm going to get this, I'm going to manifest this, I'm going to have what I want, has a place, but that place is oddly hellacious to me. And it's not indicative of abundance or prosperity, which to me seems to be what you're after in the first place. So it's almost like try to offset this energy by taking on mundane things and knowing perhaps that this cause or goal that you have, because I understand Taurus, you and Scorpio and all the fixed signs are working with some kind of like new ultimate cause, and you don't want to throw that away. Like that's not what I'm suggesting. But the next nodal axis will be more opportune to lock those things in. This one could lead you to being a little bit seen as like someone who's like too political or too like not really interested in the well-being of others, but like more interested in like playing games, or also perhaps just not very shrewd or not very apt to be in the industry that you're shooting for, because there can be a lot of like mistaken interpretations of your demeanor as that of arrogance, or that of superiority, or that also of lack of stamina or lack of endurance. And so you almost want to work on those things as well, like more humility, more endurance. It's not that you don't have those things. Like I think Taurus has the most of those things, but I'm talking again about the way other people will see it. And with a South Node in Scorpio, people can be particularly harsh and critical. Other people's understanding of your demeanor will be more favorable after this particular nodal cycle. One more thing I'll talk about for you, getting out of the kind of, what I want as a person, egotistical growth stuff. I think that you also need to really spend some time healing any type of romantic trauma. Okay, it's indicated to me that you have certain relationship ties that are perhaps ancient and outdated, and you need to maybe have a carte blanche with that, or to start over in some way. That's only going to resonate for some of you, but if you're single and you're still thinking about exes, or you're still thinking about what happened to you all those years ago, that should start to subside during this time too, because that might actually be what's preceding all of these other weird ego issues. And when I'm saying ego issues, it's not in the way that we think. It's a very new kind of ego issue coming up now, where it's like, what do I want as a person, and will I stand in my way? And I'm not going to stand in my way, so I'm going to push forward, and this is like an ego growth, okay? And a growth of self, but same type of conversation. Anyway, try to really resolve old relationship traumas during this time, and try to, if you can, it's almost like by late 2022, getting past the halfway point of this transit, you should almost feel like all of that is just ancient and it doesn't even cross your mind very often. So if you still have a bunch of repetitive, trauma flashing before your eyes or anything, it is a good time for any type of psychiatric help, therapy, any type of healing, holistic healing, even astrologers in some cases, only if you've come past some of the more traditional means and you know that you don't need those, okay? But I would definitely, if I were a Taurus person and I couldn't really function well, or I couldn't really make up my mind about where I want to be, and I'm still thinking about old relationship drama, I would find that to be a little bit out of time. So anyway, let's move on. You guys are great though. I want to say Taurus, you're the most activated sign during this transit, but always with North Node, South Node, there's a complex karma. So you're going to get something, but something could also kind of be tested. All right, let's move on to Gemini. Okay, hi Geminis. Let's talk about North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio for you. Going to be brief because your energy is similar to Aries. Take a load off, rest yourself down a little bit. I feel like 2021 was the year where you put it all into action. You put all of these goals into place. You did everything. You probably did everything 3 times. You thought it all out. Okay, North Node was in your sign, and now you get to decompress. Okay, now you get to exhale. There has to be some kind of exhale for Geminis during this time. This should not be me as a Gemini trying so hard to manifest, working from 9 to 7 every day, hustling for my family or something, doing whatever it takes to get by. That type of feeling should subside. And there should really be a coastal or tropical kind of getaway feeling or staycation. Now, it's almost so essential for the health of your long-term experience. I feel that the price you paid in 2021 was too much, okay? I feel karmically, perhaps monetarily, perhaps in any way you can think of, the price was too high. And now you've got to turn that around a little bit. It's kind of an emergency call, I feel, for some Geminis. This could be the year where you either transcend out of your current job and move into what is purposeful to you because of your own diligence throughout the entire year of 2022, financially, just for example. Or this could also be the year if you can't cut back, or if you can't know what you're doing it for, where you could commit yourself to something for a really long time. So I would cut up any credit cards. I would maybe do an all cash spending or something. I know North Node and Taurus, it all becomes so economical. Side note, Geminis, I love trailing off with you guys because your brains work as quickly as mine. I get a lot of comments lately. It's why so much economic speaking? I'm I can't help it. The North Node's in Taurus. So we've got Uranus in Taurus. We've had that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. We have Pluto in Capricorn and these huge Capricorn triple conjunctions, and now of different proportions. So it's it's just a very economical period of time. And Gemini, with the nodes being semi-sextile and quincunx to you, this can be a really, really annoying year if you don't see yourself getting out ahead of it, or you don't see yourself getting out, getting out of it soon, okay, with the light at the end of the tunnel. If you're not seeing that, this can be very annoying. So for example, with South Node in Scorpio, that's not auspicious for Gemini. What that usually entails is someone can be on your case about very nitpicky things. Someone can be saying you don't smell good or something. It's crazy, and it's not true. You can have very neurotic people come into your life with South Node in Scorpio as a Gemini person, and they can be very critical over unimportant things. Some of the things could be important, but it can also be stupid stuff too. People are criticizing the cologne that you're wearing or something. They're criticizing your color choices and the outfits that you're wearing, but you work at a call center, so it doesn't even have much meaning. But so that's the best way that I can explain the potentials of that energy if we don't know our plan or don't know how we're moving forward. So that's always a sign. If you're having people nitpick you about unimportant stuff, what that means karmically is that you don't have any idea that makes sense about where all this momentum is going. That's as best as I can explain that. That's a very kind of dumbed down explanation, but when we are unimportant to our own momentums and we don't think about where it's all going, or we don't consider the significance of what we're taking on in our lives, we do start to manifest people who start to piss us off a little bit, okay? Because the universe is kind of being like, hey, you know you don't like this situation, right? Let me really show you by manifesting a few people who piss you off that you don't like this situation. So if you can just kind of see as a Gemini like what you don't like about certain situations, you can bypass all of these crazy annoying, especially like Scorpio people who might come into your life and who might start like nitpicking, okay? On the other side, for the Geminis who understand their significance, understand what they are doing with their like next 5 years, or at least through like 2024, you will be given everything, okay? Again, hyperbole, but very easy just to like spend most of your time like by the beach, or to have a lot of time in silence, and it'll be like the exact opposite, okay? So no in between here. Either there's going to be a lot of kind of annoying people kind of cropping around you to kind of prove that you need to get out of something, or you're going to be like kind of in a hermit experience, perhaps in like a beachside cabin or something, and healing through the sun. Okay, healing through the sun. I'm feeling sunlight. You need more of that this year. Salt water, even like the desert. I might be going to the desert later this year. I'm not sure. We'll see if it makes sense. But you need some type of environmental cleansing, I feel, and less work. Okay, so you should be doing less than you did in 2021. Okay, let this be your invitation, Geminis, to get twice as much done with half as much time, and have 3 times more while spending 3/4 of the amount you used to. That's kind of how things should be working if you're a Gemini who's been very attentive to yourself for the last few years. And if you already start to see a bunch of annoying, nitpicking people cropping all up around you, just start to implement what we just said there about those numbers and stuff, and about doing more for less, and just getting it together, and manifesting your way out of what you don't like. Okay, let's move on. Cancer for this nodal axis. First time Cancer's making a nodal axis transit video for all signs. I hope you're having a beautiful day. How lovely this is for you. You and Pisces, the 2 water signs other than Scorpio, really have the best that this nodal axis offers, because it's not hitting you directly, but it's in favorable angle nonetheless. So trine and sextile. What this means is that you can stumble upon your purpose. What this means is that you will probably get like a huge bonus or a huge tax refund or something you didn't expect. Like the money just comes in and the gifts just come in, or the promotions just come in. It's a very economic transit for you because, again, the Taurus Scorpio axis, 2nd, 8th house axis, is the money axis in astrology, with the 2nd house side, Taurus side, being the money you work for, the money you earn, and the 8th house being other people's money. So for you, you can start to build like an empire with this, or you can have like a power marriage. You could, you could, within your marriage, if you're married, like one of you could be working and then the other one could be like, building the house or building the empire or something. And it's kind of like you get both ends of it, like the earnings and then the 8th house side, which is like investment or inheritance or equity of some kind. There's something about an increase of equity for you and perhaps everybody in your orbit or gravitational pull. And also, it's really good to start to represent what kindness or prosperity is. What do I mean by this? Very, very harsh for a Cancer person to still not to be able to forgive somebody after like 10 years. Very harsh for a Cancer person to look down on a homeless person. Very harsh for a Cancer person to demean the religion of another person, or to demean another person in any way, to look down on any other person for any other reason. You're being given so much that there could be an arrogance, not for all Cancers. Again, Cancer is not typically an arrogant sign, but what I see human nature is when people get so much or they start to build or expand so quickly, there can start to be this like, I'm the king or I'm the queen now. And certain people do different things with that type of inner feeling. And Cancer's part of the role, or I feel karmas that Cancer is born into as a Cancer, is one of service to an extent, not in the same way as Virgo, but Cancer almost has to always be nurturing, regardless of their economic background, regardless of what role they play. They have to be helping another person. And the disciplinarian or the disciplinary mother archetype does become very harsh in the year of 2022. It's like a year of the tiger. We've got a lot of water energy, like grand water trines happening this year. So it can be really devastating for another person to, like, for example, not be forgiven by you. For somebody struggling financially to be like looked down upon by you could make them completely give up on certain things in a scary way. So again, this is kind of, I'm seeing as I'm doing this channeling through the nodal axis, it shows like the difficulties very strongly of each sign, or like the worst case scenario. So of course I understand that most Cancers out there watching would never consider doing something like that. But I just want to communicate to you, it's like if you can give back, if you can nurture, if you can smile at any person that you see, and have a kind aura, your prosperity will continue growing and it won't stop. But if there's an arrogance, it will cap off and start to depreciate in some way. So the negative potential here is, again, the exact opposite, right? Is a huge depreciation, a nearly violent type of money spending, an entire a loss of like an entire like source of income or something can happen as well. Some type of drastic transformation in what you receive. Taurus, Scorpio axis, reception, being given, what the ground one walks on, the status one is born into. There's something of birthright, there's something of status here as well. And I think that it's going to be a natural kind of bestowing for Cancer. Also cooking, okay? This channeling, taking a complete different sector here. I would really try to take your recipes to the next level. I would try to source your ingredients from the best possible places. I would cook for people. I would give your body the best ingredients you can. And I would see how that also increases your prosperity as a person. I'm sure a lot of you already do that. I know Cancers are very conscientious about what they put into their bodies, typically. But I feel that could take on a new level of conscientiousness. And maybe you could even expand it. So starting a cookbook, or starting like a volunteering to feed people in poverty. That could be very rewarding for a Cancerian person. Because I am also seeing, okay, this is funny. I'm also seeing, yeah, okay, I just got a huge psychic flash. So I'm seeing a lot of Cancer people complaining about their like $800,000 tax bill. Yes, I know. But like that means you made like millions, like, so it's almost like you need to work at and that's just a totally random example, and you can apply that anyway in your life. Like complaining about the difficulties that come with prosperity is the moral. So it's like almost you need to like get out amongst the homeless, or you need to work with the impoverished, or you need to, even if you're like not, making millions and millions of dollars, even if you're making a very like average income, okay, still I would recommend some type of volunteering. I'm also seeing another group of Cancers who are like, gosh, I can just never get above making like $30,000 or $40,000 a year. Go volunteer at the homeless shelter, okay? it will help you. You'll either start making more, or you will somehow transcend that not being enough. That's the idea. We don't need to put any numbers on anything. It's almost like you're stretching what you have, regardless of how much it is, and you need to see other people's perhaps entire life's problems being solved by having what you have, to transcend your own stretching of your own boundaries. So to fit better in your own mold, you need to see the context of people who aren't in the same place as you. So to recap, Cancers, quite hard to be networking with people like just like you, who make like the same amount of money, who work at the same jobs, who complain about the same inconveniences of prosperity. That would be inauspicious this year. You need to get around people who have a different economic background, higher or lower, so that you can transcend your own nature to basically be constantly dissatisfied with the current regime of your life. So yes, it will be very, very auspicious to transcend that at last here. And the universe encourages you to transform into the enjoyment, into a state of enjoying what you have and not stretching it to a point that it is a burden itself. So very, very nice stuff coming in there. Okay, Leos, let's see. So this nodal axis for you is probably you're the third most activated sign for it. You and Aquarius, to some degree, third and fourth most activated. This is a fixed nodal axis in your fellow fixed signs, Scorpio and Taurus. And for you, it means that you are perhaps caught between financial success and like success of the soul. Perhaps you're caught between two jobs that you've always wanted, okay, but one must be sacrificed in order to have the other. Like, it's like, wow, I have these two positions or these two opportunities that I always wanted becoming available to me at the exact same time, probably around like, July 2022 or even like January 2023. Which one do I choose? There's a feeling of like, what do I choose for Leo? And I do feel it to be a harsh, kind of conflicting decision-making process. But the reason it's harsh is because you have like two dreams coming true, is because you have like dream choices here. And you're like, I don't want to mess that up. I don't want to mess up and choose the wrong thing. I don't want to lose anything anymore. There's kind of a loss crisis here, or there's an inability to like let your children grow up as well. What do I mean by that? It's a random message that came in. Like the inability, for example, to leave one job that you've mastered and move on to the next thing. Okay, moment of silence. The inability to allow yourself to evolve. Okay. Trying really desperately to make something relevant to you now that once was long ago but isn't anymore. So I'm saying like rebranding. I'm saying like trying to like marry a new person to like make your job work or something, like things that don't have that big of an impact. Or vice versa, trying to get a new job to make your marriage work, trying to shift a lot of things around and not deal with the problem at hand. Passive-aggressive decision-making, problematic now. Basically, by January 2023, it's done, okay? The decision is made by January of 2023. That timeline is really coming up strongly for your sign. Like, January 2023, you've got to, like, know that either directly or indirectly the decision has been made. And you'll start feeling this in July. Okay, the universe is going to give you plenty of time. It's probably been giving you time since like 2020 to get this stuff right, because when we get to the next nodal axis, late 2023 through very early 2025, okay, the universe is going to expand it drastically, and it's going to make you want to adventure with it. It's going to make you want to grow with it. It's going to make you want to, hit the pavement and like get people involved with what you're doing. The North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra in the future. But that comes as a result of these two like polarized choices that come up during this nodal axis. So this is one of those times in like a Leo's life where you'll look back and you'll be like, yeah, that changed the trajectory of my whole life. That decision, that thing I was pondering, you know, the choice to step out of that role and, you know, dance with the universe a little bit and hope the next one manifests right, changed the entire trajectory of my life. Or staying and doing all that stuff, rebranding it, like going crazy, being really wild, taking it to a whole other stratosphere or plane, changed the trajectory of my life. So what I want you guys to sit with here during this entire year and a half, because it's kind of like you're sitting, certainly until January 2023, it's like you're sitting with all the time in the world, knowing exactly what these two options are. And you've got a lot of opportunity for deliberation. I mean, 2021 with the previous nodal axis should have been enough deliberation, but I understand that these are life-changing choices perhaps on your plate. So it's like even all the deliberation can't really change the fact that it's going to change you. Probably by July 2023, okay, 6 months after this change point that we're identifying, I see Leos like with such a breath of fresh air, knowing that the time passed and they eventually made the choice, but like making that choice, okay, is sometimes a hard thing. So let's talk very briefly here about making hard decisions, okay, and deliberating around the hard decisions. Also, there's a possibility of jury duty, okay? I just got that as a totally random message. There's a possibility of legal action but especially like jury duty. I'm not saying legal action against you. I'm seeing like the deliberative process, or maybe it's law school for some of you. Maybe it's like, I'm just seeing a lot of like deliberating a case, like seeing both sides of it, trying to like really weigh out the positives and the negatives, like a very deliberative in a new focused way, because the last nodal axis was deliberative also, Sagittarius, Gemini, but in a more mercurial way, jumping around a lot, you know, lots of different deliberations, but this one is a more focused and reserved deliberation. And I don't feel it to be deliberative for any other signs except for Aquarius. Your axis has this component, but none of the other signs had this sort of axis. But yes, a possibility for jury duty. I want you guys to come back to this video if you get summoned for jury duty. And I'm kidding. But like, I think that's just a funny, weird little prediction. But there's also a possibility of people coming to you and asking you to help them make their choices as well. You might be seen as a good decision maker. You might just always be finding yourself in a series of quite momentous decision making, okay? But this could also be a symbolic message. Like you might really be like in a state of like jury for your own life. You could really be making judgments this year that really are life altering. And I think it's been in the cards for a long time for your sign with all those Capricorn quincunxes, and then also, you know, yeah, it's like, I'm just trying to feel the energy. It just makes sense to me that stuff has been grating or grinding you a little bit wrong, and it just like suddenly there's a like chemical reaction and it like manifests this huge like sudden like big decision. So like there could be offers, you could get like a job offer from some really prestigious company. You're like, gosh, I have my own business. Like I'm self-employed and I've worked for so long to create this and I have like this now. And like, I really love what I have, but this is a great opportunity. There's something like that. And what a blessing from the universe to have such a sort of array of abundance coming for you. If you can step into it from that perspective, the right decision will come through. Okay. Also, watch out for addictive cycles as well. So anything that you're identifying like here in February 2022 as something that's not good for you, okay, something that's a threat to your focus, concentration, or well-being in the future, save yourself some trouble and just scrap it now, okay? Because this particular T-square energy is, you can see a forfeiture of certain momentums because of some type of time-wasting mechanism or some type of also inability to step up to the plate because of a need to fulfill some type of addiction or some type of energy rearrangement of some kind, whatever that's meaning to you guys. Odd channeling. Maybe that's what addiction is. Maybe addiction to some degree is like a rearranging of energy to like try to alchemize yourself into a different, or try to just get yourself to push into what you feel you need to do. Overcoming that will be important, and I recommend that you guys get diligent about that. This decision could be hard because your like brain is in like an addictive place. Okay, of course I'm not a professional on that. I can't advise you on that, but don't be afraid to seek out those who are able to do that during this time as early as possible, so that you can do it, or just let yourself overcome the addiction. That's a certain thing about South Node in Scorpio. Okay, is overnight transformations that are life-altering. So I'm interested, Leos. I'm very kind of invested in what your choices are during this time, because that's pretty cool stuff, actually, if you think about it. Like, you just kind of zoom out and say, like, wow, if younger me knew that crossroads that I would be standing at, that would be pretty freaking cool. Like, check out that decision I had to make. Like, who gets to make decisions like that? Like, you can let this be a nice, empowering thing too. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about Virgo. Okay, Virgo's hour and a half, 50 seconds timestamp. How do you feel? Finally, there is some respite here for you. This to me is the energy of hot springs, the energy of a spa, of getting away to Bath, for those of you in the United Kingdom. I'm kidding. It's kind of like we have to, as Virgo people, see the empowerment that we have stepped into. Very hard as a Virgo person to convince yourself that you don't have power over this situation, or to delegate your own decision-making power. Kind of like Leo, you have a big decision to make, but yours is a lot easier to make than theirs, honestly. But that doesn't make it effortless, but it could be. Something really classy coming up for you now. I feel that also, like Leo, you have to scrap a lot of addictions, or you have to step out of certain previous addictive cycles in order to see the greater narrative coming in for your life. So there's something of a narrative creation, and this can come to you in really nice places. So as you're in the hot spring, you finally understand the way that those two paragraphs of that story or that narrative come together. Okay, there's a really important need. Okay, I'm sorry, Virgos, I'm being distracted by a train going by right now. It's like honking at me. Okay, not me, but it is making a lot of noise. But yes, there could be like distractions, but good distractions that kind of give you a synchronicity or give you a type of better understanding of your general momentum. And you might also need to catch a train, or you might need to kind of have that chariot archetype come in and just be like, okay, I'm picking up. I'm not staying on this. I'm not staying in this job. I'm moving on to the next thing. Like, there's a really powerful transition perhaps coming up for you now. And you shouldn't worry too much about, what other people are going to think. If you're a Virgo who has kind of transcended the opinions of other people, or a Virgo who's not allowing other people to like live in your head all the time and are thinking now about yourself or your family, that will be very nice. So South Node in Scorpio for you says to me that you haven't maybe had power like this before. As a Virgo person, maybe you've always been having to like, I don't know, be delegated to, or people have always been like barking orders at you or trying to get you to serve them in some way. The South Node in Scorpio comes in with a sextile angle to you, and it introduces a new power. So perhaps you've been promoted, perhaps you are now a business owner, or perhaps you're now delegating to other people. So there's also a need to learn how to delegate well, or there's a need to learn how to allow yourself to be helped. This could be a hard year for you if you don't have any help, okay, or if you don't have any assistance from other people. So learning how to ask for help during this time is good. And North Node in Taurus also indicates more financial prosperity for you. And you might be the only sign of the zodiac who can do that or have that without it being some sort of huge egotistical experience. Because of the trine, because of the soft angle, it's like some of the ego issues of North Node and Taurus are not coming your way, and there's still a very humble Virgo who perhaps now has a lot more and has a lot more to offer and a lot more to also get done. I'm seeing that you have way more tasks. I'm seeing that you have way more help perhaps with these tasks. And I'm also seeing that your connection to the earth is at an all-time high. So you could be feeling like a root chakra connection to the earth, like an ancient power, like kind of coming into you and like going through your veins. Scorpio is having this as well. Capricorn is having it. And it's something that will come to a climax to some degree, probably by July of 2022 and then January of 2023. So for Leo, that was looking like a major decision that they had to make. For you, it looks more like just I would almost say, existence in that decision already being made. So your sign to me doesn't feel as faced with huge decisions as Leo, but it's like by virtue of being during this time, by virtue of living during this time, you're going to kind of be in that huge purpose place, or you're going to be in the right decision. Okay. So I feel that it will make sense once you get there, but pay close attention to like a feeling of having extra power, a feeling of having extra energy, of having more earthly experience and empowerment. And also pay attention to what that results in your day-to-day. Because for some people, they can't handle it. You know, they end up like taking on some type of like weird coping mechanism to like cope with having that empowerment. They can't handle it. They bounce off the walls. They can't sleep at night. They can't get up in the morning, you know. So another part of this year for you is understanding how to process this new power, this new energy in a way that's not destructive and in a way that doesn't also derail or threaten your day-to-day tasks as the natal 6th house. So focus on those day-to-day tasks and also dialogue with yourself about what this new empowerment or what this new earth energy wants you to do or what you want to do with that. You know, at a higher level, you can get more macro. You don't have to keep it so micro. You don't have to think about, okay, this is about me balancing the checkbook. This is about me doing household chores. This is about me, you know, managing someone else's business. This is about me, you know, being an accountant. Like, yes, but now you can step up at a higher level and be like, okay, this is about me now having like a rental property. This is about me now having like passive income. This is about me not having to do so much for everything. And also maybe having like a different type of authority as well. Could be very possible for you. Okay, beautiful year for you, Virgo. One way or another, it's very familiar and it's very earthy and it's very natural to you. So with that in mind, I would avoid the fake. I would watch out for fake things or like fake jewelry, fake, too much like anything that doesn't feel real to you, okay? Because that will mute or nullify some of the natural energy coming in. So have a beautiful nodal axis, Taurus, Scorpio, Virgo. Okay, let's move on to a Libra. Okay, Libras, let's talk about you for this nodal axis. So I think that it's very dull, some of the experiences that came up at the end of the last one, okay? At the end, so around the time of like November to January, on one hand, there's like a feeling of you finally understanding what really matters to you for a very long time. But at the same time, there's like a dullness that I feel you are sharpening in the North Node Taurus, South Node Scorpio paradigm. So there's a feeling of sharpening up. There's a feeling of not being so ambiguous or so vague any longer. And also there's kind of a feeling that you don't have to try too hard to do that, but there are going to be experiences that basically sharpen you or sharpen your intellect, sharpen your focus, sharpen your concentration, sharpen your general demeanor. And I think that this is going to be really nice for you because I feel that Libra in the last like cycle of Saturn. So honestly, for like the last like 30 years, Libra as a zodiac sign has been kind of playing a new game about fairness and about judgment, because again, Libra is the sign of judgment and balance and weighing out things, you know, deciphering, processing, deliberating, making choices, things like that. And for the last cycle of Saturn, I feel you have been basically getting much more, I don't know, open or more lenient with the way in which you make judgments or the way in which you process things. And that to me feels to be sharpening up. You might be more willing at this time to do something more conventional or more traditional or more sharp within distribution. Okay, it might be hard for you now to be doing something really loose or really unconstructive or deconstructed. So you might be you might be feeling called to, I don't know, start some type of very traditional work rather than something really fantastical or really magical. We do have this Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces also coming in though, so that's going to kind of contradict that. So you could be seeing yourself kind of like, gosh, how much do I believe in fate or karma? Or you might be finding yourself rethinking life philosophy or even having like religious changes or some type of new view into, you know, what life's purpose is and things like that. There's a lot of kind of contraction or back and forth moving about, you know, the big stuff, about the certain meanings of life and such. So the North Node is in your fellow Venus-ruled sign of Taurus, and that means that you might also have a lot of purpose relating to relationships and romance. You might be getting married. You might be also meeting someone who really helps you or someone who you really want to advance your relationship with. There can be a quick advancement of relationship status during the next year and a half for you. And you can see that you have a lot of help, or you can see that you perhaps start a relationship or build a relationship with someone, whether it's romantic or platonic or professional. However, even especially professional relationships, actually, you can see that people really want to help you or people really want to make your projects bloom. So that's going to be really nice for you. South Node in Scorpio for you is a semi-sextile, so it doesn't really make sense. Again, it's kind of peripheral. It's like, I don't really understand what's going on. I can't see the future of this. I can't see, because that's kind of what I'm feeling with your energy too. I can't really predict for it. It's kind of like some of these situations here, or some of these relationships or karmas that you're experiencing now are not something that you need to think about in advance, but they're going to happen, and they're going to happen quickly. So it's kind of like a dark in a way, or there's a peripheral darkness or a peripheral unknown or a peripheral void that you can't really predict where it will be or how it will do, but it will become, okay? So it's kind of Sphinx-like. It's kind of, there's a feeling of a sort of shamanic unknown becoming a certain type of mystery for you. So a new journey with mystery. You could try to solve a mystery during this time. You could be investigating something. You could be sort of becoming an archaeologist as well. So careers in archaeology or any type of discovery process of old and ancient things. So studying into your own lineage, or going to an archaeological dig or something that's like dark and unknown. That which is underground is not seen, and we don't know what's actually there, but we go looking and we find stuff. That to me is kind of like the energy that I feel for your sign. Thank you, Libra. Okay, let's move on. Scorpio. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is some intense stuff, Scorpio. Prepare yourselves for a wild message, or perhaps a very normal one. I don't know. But yeah, so the South Node is in your sign, and I've been thinking quite a lot since it went in around the time of January 18th about what it means and what's so special about it, because as a Scorpio myself, I've been seeing a few kind of weird situations, and I'm like, gosh, is that what South Node is about? Is it really, you know, focused on some of these kind of jello-y experiences, like moving through jello? Sometimes things feel really slowed down and hard to get through. Okay, with South Node, I'm starting to see. But that's kind of just the beginning of it. So believe it or not, what you're going through during this time, so January 2022 to July 2023, this is the definitive moment. Okay, this is the period of time that decides. Okay, this is the period of time that determines a certain quite long-running momentum, and it's going to be very different for a lot of Scorpios. It really depends on what the mix of Scorpio in your own chart is, but I'm seeing one main central theme for it, okay? Being prepared, being ready when the calling horn sounds. That's the psychic image I've been getting for your sign with this particular nodal axis, is like being so in shape, being so healthy, being so above board, being so integrity-based, being so sober and in your right mind that you are ready when it's time to do it, okay? Because I feel like there's sort of a pending phase, especially in the beginning of this transit, where it's like the universe is kind of testing you pretty hardcore right now. And it's like, will this Scorpio person rise to this challenge? Are they willing to let go of some of that weird stuff in order to have the space in their lives to step into what they're dreaming of so intently? That is pretty much the main thing for you, is like, and you might already be feeling this in your gut. I know I have been as a Scorpio. It's like, it's not quite here. There's something about what exactly you're wanting that's still separate from you, which does confuse me a little bit, because I'm like, at what point in time does the Scorpio allow themselves to actually step into it, to actually do it? And at what point in time has one been preparing enough, and can they launch themselves into their own purpose? I feel that it's got to find you. I feel that you've done so much to manifest it, or you've done so much to think about it or ponder this sense of cause, or this new goal, or this new transformation that you are trying to set yourself up for. Preset transformations, that's an interesting concept. To me, that's indicated with the South Node in Scorpio. And it's kind of like you give to the universe, like, this is my want, or this is what I feel I'm suited for. And then it does a pending phase, and then it gives something back to you. So the way that you can get something back that is, acceptable by you, is to be ready for what it is that you want. I know this doesn't sound like rocket science, but it's like, I almost feel like a lot of Scorpios are confused about this. Like, I'm seeing a lot of Scorpios being like, why don't I have that salary? Why don't I have that position? Why aren't people just like flooding me on LinkedIn? Like, why aren't people just like following my social medias? Why aren't people like joining onto my cause? Because there's something that's not yet ready for that. Okay. And that in a way is a protection. So it's like, in order to advance or transform in the way that you need to, it almost is not going to accept any kind of detraction or any kind of like dark kind of like, yeah, I'm stepping up to this huge task, but little does anybody know that I've got like a difficult addiction, or I've got like a huge secret, or some type of like double life, or some type of like crazy thing that inhibits it in some way. So there is a big call for calming the complexity, or calming the darkness of your experience, and bringing a lot of it to light, or choosing also to embrace the loss of certain sparked or almost spiked experiences of time. Okay, what do I mean by this? This is also an important thing for you. You've got to, in a way, normalize certain things in order to offset this energy. As you guys know, offsetting is my sort of astrological philosophy. When we have certain placements, it's important to offset them because they indicate a certain natural flavor. And with the South Node in Scorpio, there can be corruption in that. There can be also really weird traumas, or also past traumas or previous ones that are still like floating around deep within our psyche, and they're like starting to show themselves in ways that we can't correlate. South Node in Scorpio to me is also about deep power and deep connection to the earth, and kind of it's very human, it's very root chakra focused, and it's also deep red life force energy. Okay, so in order to offset that, there has to be normalizations in other places. There has to be neutralities in other places. There has to be crown chakra, brighter, lighter light kind of coming into your life that is not complicated. So I, as a Scorpio person, would recommend divesting from complex karmic issues, or even things that you find to be like super empowering or really crazy and in a way fictitious for you. And I would recommend embracing your own identity and embracing who you really are, and doing things that have a light connotation to them, because there's going to be this like darkness that everybody will likely perceive within you. And if they don't, I'm actually feeling, okay, so for quite a big group of Scorpios, I'm talking like 70 to 80%, there's this perceptible darkness and this perceptible power. And if that's like offset with like arrogance, or like someone who's like clearly wanting some sort of like status position or something, again, we have this issue with the North Node in Taurus of having an overt arrogant status focus or something. If Scorpios with the darkness perceptible to others are exhibiting that, they can attract a lot of subversion from other people. And they can even scare people, okay? You can be scary during this time if you're not having a sort of normality or a certain lightness within your cause. And I wish that I could get some better words for this, because normality may not really mean the same thing to certain people, but it's kind of like simplicity, okay? It's kind of like watching out for dressing in like all black, for example. You know, it is tasteful at sometimes, you know, if you're at a funeral, you know, if you're and there are certain times I feel where Scorpios like need to do that, but I don't think that it's now. And I think that just whatever you can do to have more of the life energy instead of like death energy, so Eros versus Thanatos. It's a very Thanatos time, naturally. And for a Scorpio, it's going to be super imbalanced on the Thanatos side if you're like pursuing some sort of powerful or over spiritual, even over religious, over cosmic even push, if this is an exterior thing. Also, it could happen that you have to implement some kind of strategy, or you can find yourself even involved in some type of power game, or some type of, someone can even try to provoke you during this time. So for Scorpios who are super egotistical, a very light provocation can cause them to like explode. Okay, and that might be what they want. Okay, so this is an interesting thing that I want to introduce to you, Scorpios. So other people kind of engineering a response from you because they think that they know you. Okay, try to not play into that, and also watch out for super long-running relationships where you can already detect a bit of bitterness, or you can detect a jealousy from another person. It's very likely whatever sign the South Node is in indicates also a jealousy from other people, and that is because the South Node is about what is gained without effort. It's about past life knowledge. It's about things you don't have to work to achieve. Okay, so as a Scorpio, the South Node is connecting to your Sun. So your vitality, your also direction in life, your purpose, that stuff is going to come so naturally to you, and it could create jealousy in other people. That's why you want to really take it humbly. Okay, also, you might let it be a semi-private experience for you, where you know it, and maybe no one else does to an extent. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the flavor of having such purpose, the knowing of what your life calling is, the knowing of what it is. Watch out also I see this on social media all the time, and I think it's great. Okay, there's a big collective push towards this, like not telling people what your plans are before you're ready to go. So not letting other people be an authority or be, privy to like what you want in a long time that you can't hope to have right now. Because weirdly, people will kind of start to subvert that. And you could already be seeing that with South Node in your sign. You could see people being like, I just don't really see that for you. You could see people being like, but like, why do you really think that that hairstyle is right? Like, you're not even thinking about hairstyles. You're thinking about like your life purpose. And you're like, I'm trying to like, I don't know, change the filtration of water for the entire globe or something. Like, I don't care about my hairstyle. But nonetheless, people are like, that person's hair looks terrible. And they don't even, but they want you to kind of like get to yourself, you know? That happens a lot with a lot of mainstream people who are doing big things. People criticize their appearance, right? So it's possible to have appearance criticism during this time. And it's also possible to have any type of criticism you can imagine. The jealousy could be very high because the chemistry, the alchemy, with Pluto and Capricorn, with the Pluto return starting to happen, with Jupiter, Neptune, and Pisces, for a Scorpio with South Node, it's kind of like this is almost unbelievable, like what other people see you connecting to, and they might not want to believe it, and you can actually have some severe problems if you, for example, try to one-up people, or if you test them, because you'd be very surprised about how much a lot of people don't like for one person to do that well. So try to have a private experience of it and don't ever be drunk. Okay, never threaten your sobriety. Never do things, okay, as a Scorpio that have any type of corruption connected to them, because people could really be kind of with their magnifying glasses during this time, like just hoping to kind of find something, even if they didn't pursue that, or even if they didn't like do anything with it. I do feel you to be highly scrutinized or highly looked upon during this time. And it's kind of like, because you end up doing it right, or because you have this level of concern with others. Okay, again, 8th house, South Node, because you have maybe an inborn ability to know how to navigate the scrutiny of others or the criticism of others, you will end up, I think, victorious, because it's kind of, I think, impossible. If you're still here at this point, this is a great message, Scorpios. If you've made it to this point, February 2022 with South Node in Scorpio and the Pluto return about to start, and you have the potential, or you haven't been blocked off or taken away, or you haven't had, some sort of horrible like fall from grace or something, you can't really be stopped, I feel, from your dreams. So that's a lot to take, and that's a generalization. Like, certainly, that doesn't mean that we have like free reign or free path to like do whatever we want and take whatever we want. Like, it's not like that. But it, to me, is an auspicious sign that you are still moving at the rate you're moving with the way the stars are now. And what I just want to impress upon you is that it does take a lot of responsibility, okay? Especially if you're wanting to like do something big or do something like publicly, as I feel this North Node opposing you is kind of like beckoning you to like take something bigger or do something that you've always wanted to do. That's going to require a lot of responsibility, and it's also going to require that you step into some sort of normative structure, or step into some type of like conventional appearance even, or more conventional things. So for Scorpios who love the unconventional, I do think there's a difficulty, unless you want a very private experience, or unless you want to maybe just like go off and like live on the beach or something, or have a certain silence within your growth cycles, which is very humble and beautiful in its way. So it kind of depends on what you want, if you're wanting to do that big egotistical thing, or that big purposeful, even humanitarian effort, or some type of mass like healing or project, or something that seeks to solve some kind of collective problem, and you're wanting to be like some type of leader within that, I feel that is indicated but it's not going to ever be the same, okay, if you do that, or it's not ever going to be like very personal or private as long as you remain in that caricature. So there's kind of like a what caricature do you want type of thing. Ooh, South Node's kind of creepy like that. It's like there's a ability, I feel, for you to choose a mannerism or to choose a style or to choose some type of way. And I think that you've been probably journeying with this for a while, like mentally, emotionally. And by the time of January 2023, even July of 2022, but especially January 2023, those are two distinct timelines I've been feeling within this nodal paradigm. By January 2023, it's going to be like in whatever you're supposed to do, whatever you're needing to step up to or step down from or navigate to or fro from, it's going to be in. So knowing that, now it's February, so you've got about like almost a year, 11 or 12 months, which is not that long, but still quite sizable. What is like the list of things, or what is the stuff that you need to divest or scrap to essentially be ready when it's time to do what you need to do? Because that's my central theme for you, Scorpio, as the South Node is in your sign, is like preparedness. Being able to drop it for your calling, okay? Not, for example, being so dependent on that paycheck, not living paycheck to paycheck if you could. I know that that's quite difficult this day and age for everyone, but there are ways, okay? Also, not being subservient to a dependency or some type of addiction or some type of also fear of having done something wrong, okay? To me, those are more so the things that are preventing you at this point in time, not so much the like credential or the qualification or the even monetary side, but it's going to be different for everyone. But this entire year, Scorpio, this entire nodal paradigm, January 22 to July 2023, whatever you can do to not, I'm trying to articulate this. It's so clear in my gut. If you can imagine, let's just make a quick hypothetical here. You've got your smartphone out and you suddenly get a message from like the universe saying it's time. Everything else, you're dropping everything else, and it's time to step up to do like what you've been thinking about or dreaming of for such a long time. If you got that message right now, could you do that? Logistically, financially, wholeheartedly, without fear of like, you know, oh gosh, that one person, I treated that one person so bad, and what if they like talk to these other people that I'm involved with and they tell them what I do? What if there's some sort of like, okay, so South Node and Scorpio, creepy stuff. That's what I want you guys to think about. Like, what can you do over this nodal paradigm to get your life and your wholesome structures in a place where you're like, I can literally in 24 hours step right up to that. That's what this energy I feel is pushing you toward, is kind of like a timing or a cleaning up of the entire energetic system, okay? It's wholesome. It's full circle. It's like incredible stuff. It's unbelievable, okay? South Node in your sign, it happens, you know, like every like 15 or 16 years. So it's a big thing. It's a big thing for you. And try to be prepared for what you live for as a Scorpio, because that's a lot of what like Scorpio purpose is about, is just like being ready for that call when that call comes. So in the meantime, like, why not like have some lighter, more simplistic things in your life? Like, why not have some things that don't have any huge repercussions to them, like hobbies or even certain gaming, or even like, I don't know, cooking, you know, things that aren't like, ooh, I'm going to invest all my money in this. Ooh, I'm going to like try to get into that network of people, or, oh my gosh, I'm going to try to like reach out to my ex, or, oh my gosh, I'm going to like try to go through some sort of major trauma rebalancing or something. Like all of those huge wave creating karma creating actions, I think you got enough of that. And I feel that you need a divestment, and I feel that the energy has got to be pulled out of that stuff to a degree. But for a lot of Scorpios, that's not even going to be possible, because now they got to do it. Now they got to face the trauma. Now they got to like make the money. Now they've got to like feel like they've got to invest. Now they feel like they've got to do all this big stuff. But will it weigh you down, and will it be an obstacle to you being ready when the sounding horn plays? Okay. So, yeah, what a beautiful reading, Scorpios. Biggest thing is to have things in your life that get you by, build up a surplus, and try to engage a lot of your time, if it's possible. Not for all Scorpios is it possible. Try to engage a lot of time in less consequential things, or things which you know do not in any way threaten or prevent you from being applicable, believable, credible, or able to do what you know deep within is like for you. So what a deep, very South Node in Scorpio reading. I feel like chills. I'm like, ooh, that's heavy stuff, South Node in Scorpio, but also very, it's like the zest of humanity. It's like very human energy. So let's move on to Sagittarius. Okay, Sagittarius, messages for you about North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio. Kind of like for Aries and Libra, and also Gemini as well, you have the semi-sextile angle coming in via the South Node, which gives a peripheral context to the energy coming in for you. So kind of like for Gemini, especially the last year, 2021, probably saw you do one of like the most important things you've ever done, or connected to one of the most important momentums that you might have done so far in your life. So I would definitely keep looking back to 2021 to understand how you're growing and the direction that you're following. And it seems also that all the fire signs have some sort of major decision point coming up here as well. But it feels kind of hard for me to understand how this works for Sag, because you've also got the quincunx coming in via the North Node. So it's kind of like your ego might not be quite certain on how it wants to express itself. You might have some conflicting self-expression. Like, for example, you're like, I want to work from home, but also I hate the feeling of isolation. Conflicting wants in that sense. I want to start learning to fly airplanes, but I'm also really afraid of heights. Okay. In a way, I see it setting up an incredible overcoming of fear, or an incredible moment where you've got to be like, I just am who I am. I have interesting wants. I often, as a Sagittarius, perhaps find myself wanting things that connect to my fear, or connect to overcoming some kind of fear. So even though I'm terrified of heights, I want to start taking flying lessons or something. I kind of feel that to be the energy for you. But it is very important for things to kind of de-escalate in some way, or for there to be some type of divestment, okay? Because the North Node in Taurus, Taurus-Sagittarius combination is kind of like, you know, it's not the most wonderful combination of energies. So you had all of last year, 2021, with the South Node in your sign, right? To stand on a really sturdy foundation, to sit and journey and have a lot of karmic experiences. And now I feel that you do have to face a fear. And I feel that you have to know that regardless of what situations you're placed in, you will have a certain way that you can contribute to your overall dreams and goals in a way that does not depend so heavily on some type of good luck. Okay, so maybe you don't feel that you can really capitalize on luck as much during this time from 2022 to July 2023. You might feel like, okay, this is all about merit now. This is all about learning something. This is all about getting a certification. And I would agree with that. I would agree that you need to have quite a measured approach now. And I would really recommend following through on things and not quitting things halfway, or taking yourself out of things that you've worked really hard for, because there could be this kind of deep inner want to just like leave it, or to just walk, or to just step away. But I think that you do need to have a completionist mindset with this, even if you don't really understand what it brings to you or what you're essentially manifesting. But it's going to be good stuff at the end of the day, especially once we get to the next nodal paradigm. So South Node in Libra, North Node in Aries. That is a crowning for a Sagittarius. That is like a good favor, blooming of good luck. So I think that for Sagittarius and for all of the signs, having semi-sextile and quincunx, especially with this nodal axis, so Gemini, Sagittarius, right? Thinking about your momentum beyond this next year and a half, thinking about long-term significance, thinking about, not doing things just for the myopic purpose, like just for the short term, just for the short-sighted stuff, okay, will be a great way to spend this time well. And it's also likely to have new relationships, or likely to have a change in appearance or a change in love language. So like you might be attracting different types of people. You might be having some type of aging take effect. You might be stepping into a new way of living life, okay? So that can happen at any time in someone's life. When someone turns 25, they start to have a different experience. When someone turns 35, they start to have a different experience. When someone turns, 53, when someone turns 94, there's just weird timings that can be different for everyone, where you suddenly are just settling into a new way of life and a new season of yourself. And I feel that to be what this nodal paradigm signifies for you. Okay, moving on. Capricorn. Hi, Capricorns. I'm just writing your timestamp down. Okay, so what an empowering nodal axis for you. You might be the luckiest sign, not necessarily the most activated, but the most well-poised or the most well-postured sign. You have Pluto late in your sign. You have the North Node trining you and the South Node sextiling you, which means that new accomplishments come without effort. And it also means that transformative power easily comes in to your life. So this period of time, completely opposite to Sagittarius, is like the time to act, okay? The time to change your financial standing, the time to invest for some Capricorns, the time to invest is a good idea. So I'm not necessarily talking financially, but thinking about the long term, you would have good luck in choosing or finding the right investments, also the right synastry. Okay, so finding the right types of partners. It might be a great time to date. For Capricorns, if you're single, it might be a great time. I always like to throw that in there. If you're single, so if you're coupled, you might have great new successes with building your family empire or building up your holdings, okay? I can't really pick at much negative stuff. There could be kind of a dreary or not for all Capricorns, but it could be a little bit doom and gloom. In Scorpio and Capricorn energy mixed together, it can be very like fire and brimstone or doom and gloom. Like it's majorly dark yin feminine energy. And it's also very profitable. It's very resourceful. So you might have to become more resourceful. You might have to be willing to part with more. You might have to understand how to maintain things better, or how to get out of things when they're not right for you anymore. I almost wanted to say having less loyalty to certain things might be good, but that could be interpreted in weird ways. But you might want to watch out for an unwillingness to part with things that are actually bad for you, or an unwillingness to move on from situations which are outworn. But I think it's going to be a very, what do I want to say? There's going to be a very mysterious attraction, I feel, for Capricorns. Like you might have like a very mysterious scorpionic person come into your life, and this could be very alluring. Alluring is a good word. There's a very alluring high priestess type of vibe, like the high priestess card in the tarot. That's kind of the energy I'm feeling for you. And you never know, by the end of this transit, so by like summer of 2023, you might be existing in a much more compressed yet abundant experience. So I'm definitely seeing a relinquishing of complicated or oversaturated, overdone things. And anybody with a lot of Capricorn in their chart would do well to be careful with depending on any one thing too much. Okay, you want to really par down on dependence. That way you have more freedom and more autonomy to choose where you want to be and where you want to go. And one way or another, I feel your momentum shift to be sizable and highly important during this time. And it should be a lot less grading, a lot less grinding. Okay, the previous nodal paradigm for you, North Node in Gemini, South Node in Sag, would have been almost unbearable, okay, because Gemini and Sagittarius are both very difficult for Capricorn. It would have maybe burned you out or drained you of resources, and also would have given you an uneasy mind. And that should all start kind of remedying itself shortly by the summer of 2022, even like September to October, by like Scorpio season, of 2022. You want to really plan to have a more focused, concentrated mind and to not need so much like jumping around or mercurial stimulation. Okay, so you want to almost not feel like you have to escape anything or not have to hide from anything, not have to, give and give and give to certain people who can't give back. There should be quite a sizable redistribution of energy in your life that will be a relief, okay? And things should just naturally shift into place a lot easier for you over this next year and a half. Let's move on. Okay, Aquarius, let's see. What do I feel for you, Aquarius? I'm just writing your timestamp down here. Okay, Aquarius, North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio. Kind of like Leo, okay? Big two-way decision coming your way, probably by the end of 2022, but certainly at the latest, July 2023. Definitely listen really quick to Leo's reading as well. It will help to elicit understanding about this two-way decision, as I won't talk too much on that for you because I feel it to be exactly the same as Leo's, except for Aquarius, it's not going to be quite as like make or break. But instead, it's going to see you having a different relationship with your own mindset or your own thought process. Again, Aquarius is an air sign, so it's about the way the logical capacity affects the real world. So you have a big decision to make about how you perceive or about how you logically interpret the world around you. And I feel that, in a way, there is a major editing that you do or a major reimagining of some of the structures that you've built, and this will essentially be leading the way to a major transcendence by you as things start to settle down a little bit. So coming out of 2020, having had Jupiter and Saturn in your sign, Saturn's still there, it's asking for some type of transcendence as it builds up towards the nodes, right? The nodes move backwards, Saturn will move up and kind of meet the nodes by T-square. And this will prepare you to make a major yes or no, a major polarized decision will come up that will eventually transcend you out of some of these really tough quandaries that you've been up against since before the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. And I know that it's kind of hard to wrap your head around at this early stage, but anything that has to do with even transcending major questions, and that could even be like an answer for the Leo reading as well, like do I choose yes or no? Do I go left or right? Do I make a choice to really commit myself and sacrifice so much elsewhere? Maybe there's an ability to really transcend that, or maybe there's an ability to not have to be in that place, or just the decision or the commitment will in its way transcend you out of it too. The main thing I think for Aquarius during this year and a half period of time is to really start to see a difference in the fear factor, okay? Like fearing that you won't be able to have the success you've had before, fearing that you won't be able to bring it all together, fearing that people won't support you, that should start to really come down a little bit. And you should see that you have a great, wonderful ability to, again, find a contributive aspect to any place that you're in, regardless of how much you feel supported by it or not. But it needs to be short and simple, okay? The stream of consciousness for your sign is very wide. It's very like not wanting to be one thing or another. So I feel a non-committal tendency. I feel also a want for things to be flexible because you've had a lot of fixed energy, and it's maybe not going to be the most flexible time, but it is going to get you a lot more sure in your identity, I think, and get you a lot more confident in who you are, regardless of accolades, regardless of other people, and regardless of like the financial side of any which situation. So ultimately, Aquarius, is it really as high-flying as the previous nodal paradigm? No, but it is going to ask you the important questions, and those are going to be a game changer for you, okay? Quick and easy reading, quick and easy messages coming through. Let's move on to Pisces. Okay, Pisces, 2020 timestamp. What a interesting series of numbers. Same as 2022, actually, isn't it? 20222220. Yeah, it's a late night, Pisces. I've been filming this video all day. You are the last sign. And let's see what's coming up for you for North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio. There's something very borderless or very lacking in parameters here. You have the ability to really slip out or slip into certain scenarios. Things can slip through the cracks. There can be a very natural release process here that is very good for you. And you have pretty much a free reign over whichever area you want to be in. So finally, you are really in the controls, I feel like, with Jupiter and Neptune in your sign. And this nodal axis is also very supportive for you. So it's like destiny and purpose lining up to be in a supportive place to your natal energy. So I think it's one of the first times in a long time that Pisces will have felt so sure in who they want to be or what they want to create. The North Node in Taurus, particularly at that sextile angle to what you have in Pisces, says that you will have a sort of healing ego growth. So you might really start believing in yourself more. I think that you guys have been having upward progress with that anyway, but these self-doubt or self-concept issues, self-insecurities, self-sabotage will probably leave now, if they haven't already. Also, with the South Node trining you, you're going to have a lot of excess psychic energy. So a lot of maybe mediumistic experiences or ability to empathize or intuit situations even more than usual. Your psychic senses are going to be through the roof. And that's going to give you more energy in a weird way. A lot of times people have psychic experiences and it drains them. But I think it's going to be the other way around for you. Over this year and a half, your psychic experiences may boost you or give you more reason or purpose in being where you are. So if you're working in a certain industry or if you're building something new, you might have a very strong psychic connection to who you need to please and be able to produce that. So you might know exactly what other people want, and that makes you really tuned in and dialed into the needs of anybody, really. So you can really get ahead during this time by being so aware of what other people need and being so psychic, basically. Also, with the South Node trining you, again, there is a very infinite reasoning or purpose, a very ultimate cause. We've talked about a lot on this channel about that feeling of ultimate cause, or, really getting close to understanding your why factor in a multitude of ways. And there's going to be just such an infinite abundance of that probably during this 1.5 year cycle. And I'm sensing about the halfway mark, so around the time of like October 2022, right when we get to Scorpio season there, and we have a Sun South Node conjunction trining your Pisces stuff, and perhaps the Jupiter Neptune in Pisces as well. That's going to be such a soul opening experience for you that will probably lead you to just not be able to participate with people who aren't good for you, with habits or addictions that are derailing you. Anything that's not out for your good interest, I think, will be naturally transcended if it hasn't been already. And by October of 2022, you really do need to shoot for coming through the other side, or allowing yourself to finally transcend out of certain difficult attention cycles or time spending mechanisms, or anything that's not you allowing yourself to step into what you're dreaming of now, because your dreams are sacred, I feel, during this 1.5 year cycle. Anything really that any of the water signs are feeling during this 1.5 years, anything that they're wanting, anything that they're seeing for themselves, has a sacred or very venerated sense of significance to their lives and their souls. So try to not cheapen or entertain so many dialogues that are like, ugh, I'm just dreaming. I can't actually do this thing that I want. I can't actually be a part of that. I don't have what it takes. Really watch out for anything like that. I think you've already overcome that. But once we've ever struggled with that, like everybody tends to do, it can be surprising how it still rears its head, even in unconscious ways. So really catch yourself, especially in the beginning of this transit, like saying you can't do it, or finding reasons why it's not possible, these goals or these ultimate causes, because I think that that's the only thing that prevents it, is like you eventually talking yourself out of it or not allowing yourself to move forward. So we should, by the end of this transit, by like July 2023, we should be seeing a total understanding of the next steps, or the next like season of our lives, and how much better and just a more general feeling of self-empowerment is there, and how we're not willing to avoid purpose, or how we're not willing to associate purposeless time spending with a feeling of safety. Oh, that's big. I feel that to be what you are trying to kind of work yourself out of right now. And finding more safety in the channeling of purpose, or finding more safety in following the path that your dreams are on, feels to me to be a good starting point. Like, I'm seeing basically for Pisces, like, well, I just need to stay safe. I don't like what I'm doing, but it's repetitive and I want to feel safe with that. Is that safe? I think we might need to also see how it maybe is not promising as much as we think. And how, doing what you love, or doing what you're naturally inclined toward, is always going to be the safer call. Because to me, it's way more unsafe to do something you dislike, something that wears you down, that is like just giving a paycheck, or just, passing time. That is to me more unsafe than taking a chance on your dreams, okay? And why this has kept coming up so much during this video is because we have Jupiter, Neptune in Pisces. It's saying that there's something about dreams that have gone amiss or unfollowed, because those two planets, Jupiter and Neptune, have come together in Pisces. It's pulling out people's dreams. It's asking people the hard questions, like, why aren't you following them? What about them do you feel is unrealizable? Why do you think what you currently have is like better? There's going to be a lot of that for you this year. So knowing that that's going to happen, I would enjoy the process of dialoguing with the dream, or defining it more so that it becomes more possible. Trying to really define is going to be important, because I think that that's another thing that causes limitation, is like, we haven't defined our dreams quite well enough, so we really can't feel as if we can manifest them. But try to do that, and try to allow yourself the luxury of sitting just with your living life force and enjoying the simple things too. So this does not have to be a huge, glamorous, crazy situation. We can really, I think, with North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio, for you especially, just enjoying, the water that you're drinking, just enjoying the surroundings, just taking in and really becoming a part of your environment will also serve a lot of healing properties for you. And ultimately, again, by the end of this transit, I'm seeing Pisces as a front runner, as in some type of dream or in some type of larger story. So I think that it is in some way inevitable, especially if you haven't been able to get your mind off of your dreams or off of some type of higher purpose, because that seems to be very prevalent for you. Anyway, Pisces, I'm going to wrap that up, and thank you to everyone who listened to this video all the way through. I hope it resonated for you. Do check out this channel on Patreon below if you would like to support it. This is a 2.5-hour video, and coming to you free of charge here on YouTube. I love to create it, but if you would like to support this channel and see that this content continues on, it is because of the Patreon page that it is still possible. So much thanks and gratitude to those of you who support it over there. And if you've been considering it, now is certainly a wonderful time. I will link it below in the description box. And yes, also check out my other videos on this channel. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and thumbs up this video if it resonated. Have a wonderful time and good luck over this next 1.5 years of North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio. Have a great time, everyone. Bye.